History According to Bob. This is a visual podcast on the battleship Mikasa, and I call it a visual podcast because it has slides with narration rather than any video in it. Now, as you can see, there are two other ships in the world that have been designated World Heritage Ships. One of them is the British HMS Victory, which is Nelson's flagship, the magnificent 88-gun ship at the Battle of Trafalgar, and the other one is the United States USS Constitution, or Old Ironsides. Now here you see the Japanese flag Mikasa. Now she was constructed in 1899 and finished in 1902. She was the last of 12 ships that the Japanese built to manufacture what is called their main force that was used as the core of their navy at the Russo-Japanese War. Now, she cost 880,000 British pounds, or 8.8 million yen, or about 2.5 million American dollars. That is in 1900s money. Here's a little better picture of her. This is actually the back side to the right, the front side to the left. She displaced 15,000 tons, again, built in England, 435 feet long, 70 feet wide, crew of 860. She had 4 big 12-inch guns on the front, 14 6-inch guns scattered around, as were 20 3-inch guns. In addition, she had 4 under the waterline torpedo tubes. So she's a pretty formidable ship. Now here with the issue of Admiral Togo, we have a little more background about the ship. You can see it a little closer here. The far left-hand side there, right next to one of the masts, is the kind of like the battle bridge, if you will. Now, on September the 11th, 1905, at 12:20 a.m., the fire broke out on the ship. This is after the Russo-Japanese War, and eventually spread to one of the powder magazines, which caused an explosion at 1:37 a.m. She then goes down in 34 feet of water. Now, there were 600 crewmen and firefighters that were injured trying to save the ship, including 339 killed. Now, there were more people killed trying to fight the fire than were killed during the fighting in the Russo-Japanese War. And when you consider that this ship during the Battle of Tsushima Straits took 32 hits, that's a pretty incredible accomplishment. Now, after they refloated her in 1906 and then refitted her and repaired her, she went back in the service in 1908. But she's downgraded to a second or third class battleship. In 1921, she was initially downgraded to a first class Coast Guard ship and then put in the mothball fleet. However, in 1921 at the Washington, D.C. Naval Conference, the Japanese asked if it could be preserved as a memorial ship, so it would be excluded from the list of battleships that everybody had to manipulate, and that was agreed to. So in 1925, the preservation began, and the preservation was completed on November the 12th, 1926. At the end of World War II, U.S. occupation forces decided it should be scrapped, but that's a long, slow process, and by the 1950s, the Japanese people, the Japanese government, and the U.S. military agreed that the ship should probably be restored, and restoration again began. And that was completed on May the 27th, 1961, which is the 56th anniversary of the Battle of Tsushima Straits. Here's a good shot of the front of the Mikasa with her big guns here, which you notice are turreted. Only a few of the guns are turreted, mainly the 12-inch ones. The rest of them just stick out from the ship, so you have to turn the ship to bring them into play. Now here's the interior, and this shows one of the 14 6-inch guns, which you call the casement, the backside. You see all the brass, and there's a shell to the just to the right of the brass casement there. And remember, the Japanese used a exploding shell rather than an armor-piercing shell. This is the battle bridge. You can see limited vision, which would give protection to the captain and the people operating the wheel and turning it and doing all sorts of stuff. It's really nice that you can really extensively tour this ship. It's not something you can do on all ships that are used as museums. Here we have the one of the sleeping quarters, obviously for one of the officers, if not the admiral himself. Certainly not going to fall out on the floor. And here is the admiral's private dining area. It's a nice portrait of Admiral Togo there in the background. And then here is the officer's dining hall ship. And this last picture shows a postcard. There were lots of postcards produced during the Russo-Japanese War. And this one shows the Mikasa steaming. And, of course, Admiral Togo up in the right-hand corner. And then, you know, a nice little scene of Japan. And, of course, the backside would have the writing of the letter home or whatever it is. Now, most of the information that I gathered for this came from the book called the Mikasa, which is by the Mikasa Preservation Society. And then some of the pictures I've gathered from the internet, and some of them were taken by one of my former students whose father was in Japan on a U.S. naval tour. So I hope you enjoyed that, and as always, don't forget to come by the website summahistorica.com or historyaccordingtobob.com and ask a question, leave a comment, check out the CDs, and thank you very much.